This Oregon Coast trip with you guys has been so much fun for me. I've told you guys this before, but I've wanted to do this trip for years and it did not disappoint. But I didn't finish as soon as I got over the California border, because even though I had no more room in the car, I was not gonna stop thrifting. I decided to take the freeway home, so I went to Medford to meet up with a friend for dinner, and I made it just in time to stop at one of their best antique stores.
These chairs are so fun and bright and colorful. The shape on them is great. I couldn't tell if they were reproductions. First I thought they were spray painted, but the stitching was black, so I think the color is original, and they were only $100 for the pair. These would sell for triple that price in Portland. This was my first time at this antique store, and the first thing that I noticed when I started flipping around tags was the pricing was really reasonable. A portrait painting like this in Portland would go for $150, maybe even $200. So it pays to hit the road and get out of the big cities. And they had a surprising amount of mid-century modern. A lot of times when you get to these smaller towns, it's harder to find those pieces. This bowl was really fun. It ended up just being a plastic piece, so I didn't grab it, but they were only asking $5, and I think that would look really great on an open shelf in a kitchen. I absolutely grabbed this lamp because check out the lampshade. It's got these black polka dots on it, and the pricing was great. A lot of their booths had 50% off. This one's gonna be coming to my next First Friday sale. My heart skipped a beat when I spotted this authentic Potosi piece. They did have a really reasonable price. This is probably something that you could sell online for $150 to $200. I didn't end up grabbing it, but I want to show you guys this stamp so that you can see what you should be looking for in a Potosi piece. Don't forget to look behind things, because look at this beautiful painting on a board that I found tucked away. It did have a little bit of damage on it, but I kind of think that that adds to its charm. It's only $20 and it has the artist's signature on it. Absolutely getting it. I always go spend extra time in the booths that have 50% off sales. As soon as I see that sign, I'm immediately like, I'm gonna find a treasure in this space. Sadly, this one didn't have a price tag on it, and I was kind of in a hurry because the store was about to close. But I did find some amazing little James Mont pieces. This one was really interesting because I had never seen the ashtray before. It's so itty bitty compared to the larger one. You can see the full-size one down there. I had to at least open it up to check out how it was used as an ashtray. I very much prefer the ice bucket over the ashtray, but it's always fun to see one you have not come across before. Look how huge these brass pineapple wall sconces are. Those would be so fun in a tropical room, especially if you had really neat wallpaper. I walked right past this the first time that I was in this space. I cannot even believe I didn't see it. This is a Catherine Holm fondue pot. These round ones are so hard to find. I've never actually seen one in person, and I cannot believe it, but it has all of the pieces. I am so getting this. It has all of the pieces and the enamel is in perfect condition. This is going home with me. But look what I just missed out on 5 minutes before I walked into the store. Check out this dude right here. You guys know that I love my rams, and I think this is a really unique piece. I've never seen one before. Oh, they even say, not an everyday find. This is so true. Something that I always do before I check out, and I can't show you guys because I film my videos with my iPhone, but I put everything in my cart, and before I get to the checkout counter, I take a couple minutes. I really think about the pieces. Do I want to buy this? I Google them online. I find out if I'm getting a good deal or not, and that helps me make the decision because, as you guys know, we all have a budget, and even if we're buying to resell, we can't buy everything we want.
When I got home and I started doing research, and I also had some time to look through all of your guys' wonderful comments, I was probably the most surprised to find out about my tablecloth. I never would have guessed that these are from the mid-1800s. They sell for hundreds of dollars online, and these two are in incredible shape. I ended up getting both of them for $48, and I think it was one of my favorite purchases on this whole trip, and I'm gonna cherish them forever. I think that they fit so well with my decor, and what's funny is they might be the only authentic antique thing I have in my entire house.
I wanted to share just a few little clips of what's going on at the new house. So this is in our breezeway, and it opens up to the backyard. And when I found this beautiful hand-painted Mexican pottery platter on this thrift trip, I knew that it was going to be perfect to put on the blue tablecloth. I'm really into mixing patterns right now, but keeping it kind of in the same color palette. So this space is really coming together, and I'm going to share the whole makeover of this space in an upcoming vlog with you.
A huge thank you to the several people who emailed me and commented about my face vase right there. Based on the information that was sent to me, I am pretty confident that this is an original Alvino Bagni piece that was imported probably in the 1960s by Raymore. Now, in the past, I misspoke and I said that Raymore was, I think I said, a high-end department store. Raymore was actually the importer for those high-end department stores. Now that we've got that correct, I'm pretty confident based on the coloring, the style, the texture, and even the fact that some of his pieces had faces in them. I have not been able to find this exact piece, so that makes me even more hopeful that it's a one of and that nobody else even has one. Which I don't know why, but for some reason that makes him a little bit cooler. You always want what you can't have, right? One of the emails came from a subscriber who actually worked for Raymore, and so they said that these pieces came with sticker labels on the bottom, and that would explain why it doesn't have the artist's signature. I got him for only $75, and his pieces sell online for hundreds, some for even thousands, and the fact that there doesn't appear to be any of them with that exact face on it means he could be even more valuable. But I'm never selling him. He's something I'm taking to the grave with me. This might be a little bit dark, but I did grow up a mortician's daughter, and my family wants to have a family mausoleum, and I just realized that I probably could decorate the mausoleum with some of my favorite finds if I wanted. I'll have to think about that one. So he literally might go to the grave with me.
I love this lamp. It's funny because I got it because of the shape. I loved the twisty legs at the bottom and how it wraps around the brass pole, but I didn't realize how functional this was actually going to be. I still need a new lampshade for it. I need a taller harp. This is a lampshade I stole from a lamp there in the background just to kind of get an idea of how it's gonna look. But we've actually been using it with no lampshade because it's perfect to set your coffee on when you're sitting right next to it. Long term, it's going to end up in the new house in the basement, but right now we're actually enjoying it here in the rental house.
I am so glad that I had time to hit the one store in Medford because I ended up getting a Catherine home piece. Now, you guys have probably heard me talk about my collection that is attempting to grow for a long time now, and I only had 2 pieces. Originally, I only planned on collecting the blue because I got the teapot in blue and it's my favorite color. But now that I have the black fondue pot, I'm gonna have to rethink things because I love the black one. I think it goes with everything, and we are currently working on redesigning and gutting the kitchen right now in our new home. And there's going to be a lot of classic black and white elements to it, and I feel like I might sell my blue teapot and my green little fondue pot because I think I'm going to switch over to the black. Jesse and I just had our 9-year wedding anniversary this week, and I had planned on doing this beautiful spread with the fondue pot. He loves pasta, and who doesn't? So I was even gonna do some ravioli to dip in the cheese sauce. I was so excited about doing this, but then my little brother sent me this picture saying that he had bags full of fresh crab that he just caught in the ocean and it had to be eaten in the next 48 hours. So fondue is gonna have to wait. I'm sorry, you guys. I will show you guys how I do an epic fondue spread in an upcoming video. Instead, for our anniversary, I ended up making crab linguine pasta. Was delicious. I will share the recipe in the description below for that because it's a really, really good one. Sigma Samburu Safari Stoneware. Try saying that 5 times. It's a fabulous mid-century piece, and I did pay full retail, so there are some available online if some of you guys are interested in this piece. I'm gonna link the eBay and Etsy listings in the description below so you guys can go shop it and we can be twinsies with our casserole dishes. Even though I paid full retail, I knew this was the one for me because do you guys remember that giant picture that I left behind in Coos Bay and it had a ram on it? And I liked it, but it just wasn't quite right. As soon as I saw this ram casserole dish, I knew this was the piece that I was looking for. We can't wrap up the Oregon Coast Tour without talking about probably the best find. I have a couple of them, but it is the Jere wall hanging piece. Now I just said Jere in quotes because I have been corrected so many times that that is not how you say it, but I've been saying it that way myself for a decade. And you know that a decade-long habit is really, really hard to break. So I'm going to attempt to break it in this episode. And I'll tell you guys a little bit of the backstory about Jere pieces. From what I've been told, the proper way to say it is Jere. The company was started in 1963 by Jere Fells and his brother-in-law, Curtis. Hence the Jere. They really wanted to bring to the market museum-like quality statement art for the masses, and I think they did a fabulous job. As someone who loves mid-century, I think it is an honor to get to own one of these amazing original sculptures, and given our new house and the fact that we have our trees in the backyard, there was no better piece for me to find than the forest. I'm here at the new house and it's kind of a construction zone, but I did have to bring over my Jere piece because I wanted to see how it was gonna look here in this space. It is a little bit too wide to fit right up here, and I'm thinking that we're gonna end up doing something here with this fireplace to build it out more so that we can have a real wood burning fireplace. So I think it's gonna have a home right up top there somewhere. I'm so excited to share the home tour that is coming really soon. We're gonna be switching out all of these lighting fixtures here this weekend, and there's so much going on. The kitchen is already almost gutted, so stay tuned. So many fun videos coming on the new house. The most valuable thing I found on this trip would have to be the Lee Hill painting, and it represents 2021 for me. I said at the beginning of the year I wanted to add in more color to my life, and I feel like this painting is exactly that, all in one painting. I only paid $125 for the piece, and online it looks like they have been selling for thousands, but I'm keeping it forever. No matter where I'm living, something that's so fun for me is to be able to walk around my house and see these pieces that I have collected all over the country, and some of the pieces I've gotten outside of our country, and bring all of those memories back to when and where and how I found them. Usually when you go on a thrifting adventure, there's always a story, and those stories are our life. And that is what is so beautiful about collecting your pieces over time, finding them, and not just buying them. So I hope that this series inspired you to get out there and find those pieces, create those beautiful memories, get to know new people, and most importantly, have fun. Since this Oregon Coast trip was so much fun for me to film, and I got 2 months worth of vintage in just that one trip, and from the comments on the last video, it looks like you guys enjoyed that journey with me. I'm going to be making this an annual trip. And there were some beach towns I didn't get to this time. I ran out of time, and I'm gonna make each trip a little bit different. Although I'm always gonna go to Florence because I found my favorite pieces on this whole trip in Florence. And if any of you guys are gonna be following in my footsteps and doing an Oregon Coast Highway 101 thrift tour, please let me know by tagging me on Instagram using the hashtag Oregon Coast Thrift Tour. That way I can see what you guys are finding and what cities and thrift stores you guys are hitting, so that way I can share even more with the rest of you guys. Another place that I love to go thrifting when I visit my family in Washington is the Olympic Peninsula. So if any of you guys have any pointers and tips on thrift stores, junk stores, auctions, anything where I could find cool stuff and share my adventures with the rest of you, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm gonna start squirreling away that information for my next trip. I promised you guys in the last episode that I was gonna share the story of how I met my husband, Jesse. And I really like this story because a lot of the things in my home over the years I have found on Craigslist. And I happen to have found my husband there too. And it's not what some of you guys might be thinking. I was looking for a roommate and I put out an ad on Craigslist. Jesse had just gotten out of a long-term relationship and he was looking for somewhere to move to that was closer to his work. And it just so happened that the exact same day that he started looking for a new place to live, I put my ad on Craigslist. I still remember when he showed up at the door and he came inside. He was a little bit awkward, a little bit quiet, and I had another guy roommate there, so we were there to interview him. We were living in an apartment on the 3rd floor, and I remember we walked out to the back porch and we had our interview there. One of the things that I wanted to make sure of was that I wasn't gonna have a thing for my roommate, because that can get a little bit awkward. So when we're interviewing him, I'm like, this guy is great, he's nice, he's got a good job, he's got his act together, and he's so not my type. So I felt like this was a really safe bet. So Jesse was working on moving past his previous relationship, and I had gotten out of an 8-year relationship and I was starting to date. So I would get home from my dates and I would go out on the back porch and talk to Jesse when I got home. And what's so funny to look back on now was I think I was looking forward to coming home and talking to Jesse about my dates more than I was looking forward to going on the dates, which should have been a major sign. But you know, when you're young, sometimes it takes a while to figure this stuff out. And so we became best friends. He was who I would go to for advice and who I would go to for a good laugh and to have fun with because he is hilarious. Fast forward 9 months and I'm in the kitchen, and you know how most apartment buildings have the kitchen open to the living room and the dining room? Well, he was sitting on the couch with my dad and they were watching an Oregon State football game, and I was cooking or doing the dishes. I don't remember what I was doing, but I remember looking across the little island and seeing him with my dad, and they were talking game, and I thought to myself, I need to find a guy like that. And as soon as I had that thought, it hit me. Oh my gosh, he's sitting right there on my couch in front of me. And once you know something, you can't unknow it. So I was honestly terrified because at that point, I had no idea that he really liked me and that he was looking forward to those talks on the back porch too. But he did such a good job of not planting that seed in my head because he knew that if it was real, I was going to figure it out on my own, which I did. And as they say, the rest is history. We dated for 2.5 years. He proposed to me in the kitchen of our rental house, which I just realized is kind of ironic because that is where I fell in love with him, in a kitchen. That's really cute. I never noticed that. The wedding was an absolute blast, and life has thrown us some bumps in the road. We've been trying to conceive for 9 years now. So, you know, life doesn't always work out exactly how you have it planned, but I will never lose hope, and I will keep my heart open, and we will just see what the future brings for us. And now you guys know that my best Craigslist find I've ever gotten in my life was Jesse. I have been a full-time vintage reseller now for almost 8 years, which is crazy to think that I've been self-employed for 8 years. Leaving my full-time job in kitchen design and sales was a really scary thing to do, and I am so proud of myself now looking back that 8 years ago I had the guts to do it because I didn't have a savings. I started my business with $200 and a whole lot of optimism, but it worked out wonderfully. And if you are kind of at that point in your life where you're trying to decide, is now the time to take the risk? It probably is, maybe not for every single one of you, but I want to encourage those of you who feel the passion burning inside of you and you want to get into the vintage world. You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to hustle. It is not easy, and you've got to be a go-getter and make things happen for yourself. But I promise you it's possible. I did it with $200. You can do this too, and you have my full stamp of approval to just go for it. Something I'm really excited about sharing more with you guys is the design side of thrifting. So as a vintage reseller, the way you make your money is finding things and selling things. So you have to be really selective and really careful about what you keep. You really have to love it, and it has to be rare for you to keep it because you've got to make a living. And there are so many times in the past that I have sold things that I wish that I hadn't. Typical seller's regret. But I know in the moment I had to do it. But now I'm gonna start squirreling away some of my best pieces, and I cannot wait to bring you guys more interior decorating with thrifted finds. Since this video has now kind of morphed into me just talking about whatever is on my mind, I thought it would be fun to share something a little bit different about me and possibly some of you guys out there. In 2000 and 2015, I was reading an article on the BBC, and it was about 11 p.m. My husband was already asleep. The title caught my eye. It was like, "A man with no mental images." And I was like, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. Let's check this out. So I was reading the story about this guy who had a brain injury, and after his brain injury, he could no longer visualize in his mind's eye. I was a little bit confused. I didn't quite know what they were talking about. And I get about halfway through the article when all of a sudden it hits me. They literally are saying that people literally see things in their mind's eye. That's not a figure of speech. There's somewhere else inside their heads they see images. What? Are you serious? So I'm slapping Jesse and I'm like, "Jesse, get up, get up, get up." And, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what? Is it an earthquake? Is it a fire?" And I'm like, no, I'm just reading the news. I'm like, "Listen to me, I'm doing a test on you." And he's like, waking up, okay. And I'm like, "If you're walking through an orchard and on the left there's a tree and you reach up and you grab an apple out of it, what color is it?" And he goes, "Green." I go, "How do you know it's green? Why is it green?" "I didn't tell you it was green." And my mind was blown. Long story short, I found out that I have aphantasia, and about 2% of people have it. Jesse, on the other hand, is a hyper visualizer, and so is my brother. One of my brothers, who is an engineer, he can actually, in his mind's eye, write out a math problem and solve it on a chalkboard. And I never realized that when people say they're doing math in their head, that some people are literally writing it out with a piece of chalk in their mind's eye, which I still don't understand what it is or where it is or how it works. At least it has a really pretty name, Aphantasia. It sounds like a fantasy world you'd want to go to. But the bottom line is that I have no visual imagery. And this is something I hope a lot of you guys go down the Google wormhole on, because it is fascinating. It is fascinating that my life experience as a human is completely different than my husband's and than most of you. And it explains a lot of things from my childhood. I remember being 12 years old and I was a competitive swimmer, and we were in the racquetball room, and my coach was having us sit down and visualize our race. And we did it for maybe 30 minutes. And I have thought, I have the processor with the information, but I was sitting there and I was thinking about the race and thinking about my elbow coming out of the water, my fingertips dragging across the water, the way that it enters, the keyhole, right? I was thinking all of those facts, but I remember looking around the room and I was confused because everyone seemed so into it and I couldn't understand why. And that was one of the first things that I thought of when I had this realization, was that's what they were doing. In their mind's eye, they were watching themselves swim. So it's really, really incredible what our minds are capable of or not capable of. I was really sad at first, realizing that other people can actually pull up images of people we've lost in the past, and then I'll never be able to do that. If I close my eyes, it's black. There's nothing there. And that was really sad at first for me. But then I started to realize that a lot of my talents and abilities and optimism on life and lack of trauma from things that probably should have caused trauma for me was actually because of this. And now I see it as something that I love about myself because it's part of what makes me the way that I am. And it's the way that I approach design. And this is why I wanted to tell you guys this story. I think it's important because I feel like people hold back from decorating their homes because maybe in their mind's eye, they have an idea of what they like. And every time they try to do it, it doesn't turn out the way they had it in their head. Whereas the way that I approach decorating and design and thrifting is I create in the moment. So I pick up pieces that I love, and then in the moment, I put together a vignette or my home. And I don't have any expectations going into it. I just let it happen. So I wanted to tell you guys this because one, I want any of you guys who turn out to be aphants, as we call ourselves in our Facebook group, I want you guys to be able to discover this about yourself because it's important to know how other people around you perceive life and their experience. So you can maybe be a little more patient when you're trying to describe something and other people aren't understanding you and they're taking a really long time to get it. it's because they're trying to create a whole image in their mind. And this is just another way to show you how you never truly know what someone else's life experience is. You never know what someone else has been through. And that's why kindness is always the best way to go. Patience and kindness. If you were listening to me describing going through the apple orchard and you wouldn't have known if it was a red apple or a green apple either because the information wasn't given, then please Google Aphantasia. It will blow your mind. It's pretty incredible, and I just had to share it with you guys. It's okay to be different. It's okay to embrace the fact that something about you is different than everyone else. And it can be a really, really beautiful thing. And sometimes it can actually be the thing that makes you more unique. It has been so important to me to keep this channel as an uplifting and positive environment for everyone, and I'm trying to bring you guys some really fun content. But I do know that there's a lot going on in the world right now, and that matters to me, and I just felt like in this episode I really wanted to say that, and I wanted to find a way to give back. So I'm going to be donating 10% of my next shop sales proceeds to the Red Cross. They are currently helping people all over the world in so many different areas that need it right now. In Afghanistan, the flooding here in the US, and even the wildfires, which I have personally seen firsthand on a road trip to Montana. For those of you who are not looking to shop, but you want to help and give back too, I'm going to be posting a direct link in the description below. There are so many people around the world right now that need our help, and I know the Red Cross is doing wonderful, wonderful things to help. All right, I have got to stop telling stories and I have got to get to work because it is almost my first Friday sale, and I've got to get weighing and measuring and photographing all of my beautiful finds from this month. I launch all of my vintage the first Friday of every month at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're worried about missing out on the good stuff because things do go fast, I've added an add to calendar feature on my website. So now you can just click the button, add it to your calendar, and you will get an alert 15 minutes before the sale goes live. And I'll leave you today with a little sneak peek of just a handful of the beautiful vintage coming to the sale. Coming up next is my Montana adventure, and I can't wait to show you guys what I did there and the amazing things that I found and another new friend that I made. I'll see you guys in that episode.